time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure, so let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by
PSE Archery, Yamaha Outboards, Better the Hunt, Easy Cut, Packer Max, Deer Camp Coffee, Buck Baits, JPO Game Calls, Limwalker Game Calls, Wild Seasoning, Total Peep, Sunrise Archery, Scent Lock, and Scent Blocker.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal podcast. Everybody, host Mike Adams, sitting in a somewhat warm cabin tonight. Man, the weather has changed. Sitting here with Dan DeFaw tonight.
It has changed. It's kind of been like this. I think except for Tuesday, it was kind of warm. But man, been some cool nights, some cool mornings.
Eric says it's the greatest time of the year.
It is the greatest time of the year. There is no doubt. Too bad it doesn't last a little bit longer.
Hey, Kyle, what's going on?
Mr. Kyle Sharp.
So, before we get going tonight, we want to take a quick minute to share some special promo codes here with you. So, Dan, go ahead and do the honor.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our supporters that help support Up North Journal. There is nothing closer as we get to the season than making sure you have all your buck bait scents and attractants. We were with them over the weekend at Woods and Water. Get over to buckbaits.com, use the promo code UNJ20, and you'll get 20% off your order at checkout. Packer Max, Lincoln Roan, never too late to work on a food plot. If you use the promo code UNJ25, you get $25 off your order. Give him a call over there. Our friends at JPO Game Calls. Yes, they were wild and crazy at Woods and Water, and if you use the promo code UNJ10, you get 10% off your order at jpogamecalls.com. And stay tuned, we are talking to them tonight. Wild Seasoning. Mr. Dave Bushka did a heck of a job at Woods and Water. People were loving his stuff. And you can use our promo code UNJ2021. You'll get 10% off your order at wildseasoning.com. And last but not least, Mike's drinking the cold brew right now. Get 10% off your order, UNJ10, for 10% off your order at deercampcoffee.com. Should we check into the UP?
You want to do that right now?
Let's check into the UP.
All right, here, let me dial up.
Where it is sunny and 66 degrees up in Newberry, FM 123.
I don't see any cars on the street.
No
Everybody must
cars.
be out squirrel hunting right now.
They're probably having dinner over at Cedars, having a little pizza and Deer Camp Coffee, which they do sell there, folks. So get over there. If you're in the area, check them out.
Well, we found something tonight online. Actually, Dan did here real quick. Before we even get started with the show, for those of you who were at Woods and Water, Dan has a press release from Woods and Water officials.
Thanks to Ron Moses for posting this. Woods and Water released yesterday that, unfortunately, it looks like they might have had a breeder over at Woods and Water in the puppy tent. They obviously might have brought in their litter parvo. So just a shout out to anybody that went to the puppy tent, maybe got a puppy, please go check Woods and Water out on Facebook. They have a press release about it as well, and you can get up to date what's going on with that.
Yeah, so there's that. Kind of sad news right there. You know, makes you wonder what may or may not happen with that come next year.
Right, exactly. So and last but not least, I want to introduce somebody before we get to our guest tonight. They are joining our support of Up North Journal for the rest of the year. You're wearing a shirt. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing a shirt. Give me the gun stuff. I tell you what, we met Charlie and Shannon. They were walking. They stopped by the booth. We got into talking. And I tell you what, these are the shirts we're wearing is their logo. But if you go to GimmeTheStuff.com, you can check out their website. And I tell you what, they have got some shirts that are downright funny. Who else wears a shirt that says Pistol Slut?
This is a family show.
Right.
We'll leave it at that.
Right? Or Sunshine and Gunpowder.
I like it.
Right? So get on over there. Check out the shirts that they have. They are now supporters of the Up North Journal. So GimmeTheStuff.com. Get a funny shirt.
There you go. Get the gun stuff.
Get the guns.
All right. Well, speaking of being at the show, why don't we just jump in and get to our guest tonight that was at the show?
Absolutely.
Go ahead and introduce him, Dan.
None other than Paul and Amy from JPO Game. Oh man, I can't talk. JPO Game Calls. Thank you.
You got him flustered, guys. He's already flustered tonight. What's going on?
It was that last topic before we went live.
Yes.
Oh man.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're great.
Good. Yeah, just coming off a great weekend show, and
Seeing
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, and getting to reestablish ourselves with everybody, and get back on Up North Journal and kind of recount the week and see what's going on in the fall.
Wasn't it nice to actually see a public show where people were just flowing through, whether they were shoving their face full of carnival type food or walking their dog or just, it was so nice to see that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Everybody out, everybody catching up on, time that they hadn't been together. And it was really nice to see all that, be a part of it.
Yep. Get back to some normalcy. Let's
Yes.
keep moving forward.
Yeah, it was nice seeing a lot of people. Danny and I, we made the rounds and went and talked with people we haven't seen really in about a year and a half, 2 years.
I know, right?
It was crazy, But it's nice to see people. As far as the foot traffic there, the 3 days that you were there, was it about the same as before the nasty virus, or is it a little less, or did you see more people because it's been so long since they've been out?
I think I think people were just ready to get out. I think that there was a little bit more foot traffic than usual, and it was great to see everybody, and just great to see everybody come out and support the Woods and Water festival for sure.
It was nice to see that. It was unfortunately to see how much was kind of missing. I'm sure due to the being kind of out of business, a lot of businesses were lost, whether through bankruptcy, closed their doors or whatnot. I know the building we were in with you guys, it wasn't full. So, but you could also tell the entire space was not full like you've seen it in the past. But it's a step coming back like we talked about. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, the weather couldn't have been better.
Yes.
A little hot under that shingle there, but as the evening as the sun went down, it got cool, it got comfortable. But yes, it was a little sweat box there, around lunchtime, 2:00 or so.
Well, that's why you were at the microwave end. We were at the breezy end.
I was gonna say you guys had the nice breeze and
we did. It was kind of awesome. It was not gonna lie, you guys should have been down there. Maybe next year.
We'll talk.
You can come down
around me too.
Come down and literally hang with the cool kids. I mean, the cool kids and the cool kids,
right? Deer Camp Coffee. Those guys say cheers, so they're listening in. Mark Coleman says hey, and he's down. Mark Coleman is down in Indiana. He says hey to Paul and Amy. So, it's one of those things. When you get into a show like this, and Julie was complaining that he was making too much noise down there.
He was, all those calls.
Well, you could hear us from way down at the other end there. And
I get no complaints.
Yeah,
right.
That's a testament to the calls you do make.
That's the draw into the Blue Barn, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's
what
what
is that
brings
noise
it
over there? We
what
gotta
is
go
that
check
screeching? My word, let's go.
That's
Okay,
a nice sound over
A
there.
lot of it's misery or something. I don't know.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but that guy that had the sand next to us had a whole bunch of kids in front of him, so you can't beat that guy, right? But anyways, we're having you on because it's fall season, and we're going to talk about your fall calls, and we're going to talk about how you went elk hunting probably a little bit later in the show. So people, stay tuned. He's got a great elk hunt that he went on, so we got some pictures of that. But first, we're going to talk about your fall calls, and obviously, let's start with September 1 because you should have a goose call that you produce for the people out there.
I certainly do. I certainly have a product available as part of the Omni series. And I've got a couple different products, but the one that I'm promoting, and we just got our patent, our red ribbon patent on that this month, September, after
the end of this month.
After about 18 months to 2 years of being 2 years.
Did it take longer because of COVID?
Yes.
Or is that just a natural amount of time for a patent?
Well, they said roughly it'll take about 18 months to 2 years, but this went a little longer than that.
2.5.
Okay, so probably COVID threw that extra time in there. Okay.
I mean, not as long as I thought I could have done with it, but
and that was the first. We got our every time when you file a patent, the patent office has the opportunity to rebuke it and offer that you need to make changes to make it more legitimate. And they didn't have any problems whatsoever with the content or how the patent was filed. It was more or less Just some to clean up. The figures needed to be a little bit more better defined. The texting needed to be more in line with what standards they use. So there was very little work that needed to be done on the back side, and we made those edits relatively short order, and got the good news here about 3 weeks ago.
Yes, his design had no issues. That was all. He had new ideas in that design, and
considered to be novel,
and all that was smooth sailing.
Oh, that's awesome. So basically, it just came down to the legalese you had to fill in.
Yeah, exactly.
Make the pictures pretty.
Yeah, make the pictures pretty. Yeah, there's revolving surfaces in the graphics that I'm not really good at, so I had to solicit a few friends out there to help me get those things right before I got into the attorneys. But yeah, no, it was definitely a group effort on several fronts. I have a lot of friends I need to thank for that. So,
well, excellent. So this Goose Call, talk to us about it.
Yeah. So as part of the Omni series, I have several different types of calls. I have a short reed call. I have a let me see where this one is here. I have a short reed call. I have a long reed call, or a goose flute call, and then I have a hybrid. All of which work in the same look and feel with the same barrel, and then you can slide out or change out different pieces to make a different style. So this would be a goose call in a short reed, conventional short reed call, just with this keg. That's the goose reed keg. Then I can change out the barrel. I have several barrels or whatnot, but I can change out the barrel with what I like to promote, which is a hybrid Goose Flute. It's a short reed gut with a trainable keg, which is really nice for folks that are looking to break into a short reed call. But with the short reed call, it takes a lot of time and effort and practice to really master a call like that. People don't necessarily have that kind of time. Goose flutes are they work great, but you don't get the clucks as easily, and there's a few other niceties that go along with a goose with a short reed. This gives us kind of that hybrid, that in between the flute and the reed, where you get the training sound of the short reed keg or the gut cert without having to provide any back pressure or porting for it. So you just start with it in its compressed configuration and blow just nice easy wind through, and then down a couple of clicks, and you get the train sound without having to provide any type of additional pressure, just nice even tone air through it. And you get the break at the very end, kind of that hut at the very end, and up and down a couple of graduations on the tube here. So you get that little bit of an inflection change. If everybody has the hybrid Goose Flute in their blind, you can change that tone just by changing a couple of clicks, and you absolutely guarantee that your sound doesn't sound like your buddy's sound, and so forth. So
a whole gaggle of geese.
Yeah, exactly. And then this year, I'm releasing. This is the Goose Flute portion. Notice it's the same kegs. You can take them apart and use them for other calls if you want, but this is the intermediate piece for that call. Barrels for you get the intermediate piece for the call, and this call is more or less along the lines of the Goose Flute. You can still get the train sound. It's more or less a fixed hybrid where you can't change the tone, but you out of the gate you'll get that train sound out of it. So it's a really nice addition to the call series to kind of hit that market where somebody really wants a Goose Flute, but they don't want they don't want that short reed. So this kind of gives them we can participate in that market as well. The intermediate piece is of course much more difficult to manufacture, so the price is a little bit is more expensive for it, which is why that hybrid is such a nice product to carry or to use, because I can get that same type of an idea out of the sound for that call, but not put a whole bunch of time and effort and work into that intermediate piece like a long neck Goose Flute. So,
are you seeing? You just released the flute call. That to me, at least, seems like maybe an older school style of call versus the short reed or the shorter call. Are you seeing people coming back to that? Are you seeing people coming back to that a little more here recently, or I mean, is that just something you just wanted to add into your line?
It is. It came from in and visit us, and it was something that they reminisced about and they were looking for, and we had just so many conversations about people who liked the flute and remember doing the hunts with the flute. And so really that's why he took the time and took the energy to build that call, even though it was a little more involved than some of our others, and he was able to bring that out this year.
Yeah. I tell you what, it's one of those things. People listening to the show and watching the show, you can hear it, but make sure you get on over to your website is jpogamecalls.com. You can also look at them too, because hearing them is one thing, that's for sure. There's no doubt about it. When you can just like here we are at the show, and we can hear you using it, so it's one of those things. But I tell you what, when we get into we're going to come up on our first break, and when we get into our next break, we'll talk more about game calls.
All right, we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Had to do a quick reboot on some equipment that we are rocking and rolling now. So.
Yes. One of the questions we do have coming out of the break: how much air pressure do you have to use to activate the sound? Like, can a youth and a child make them work?
For the Goose Call, yes. As a matter of fact, I can give you a prime example of that short reed call. It was at a show, the Hunt Time Expo over in Grand Rapids. I had a grandfather come in and get a call for himself. He's like, I want to get into a goose call. I didn't have the flute at the time. He's like, I'm used to a flute, but I can't really blow a short reed. I don't have the patience or the time to learn it. I just want something to sound like a goose. I said, I have a hybrid here. Give it a try. He blew it. He's like, I can make that work. The next year I came back, he brought his grandson. He's like, you're going to get that call. That's the one we're getting. He's like, we had a ball with it last year. He's going to run it. We're just going to have a good old time. And we made sure that kid was able to sound that call before he left the booth. And his grandpa said, he's got the trained sound. I'll work on the pop. I'll work on the cluck. No worries. And he was done. And that's what it's all about, right? Yep. Is you go to those shows and you meet people and you listen to what the public wants, what customers are looking for. That drives my portfolio. And that's what gets me out in the workshop, redesigning and rebuilding, and where Omni actually came from. The genesis of Omni was attending shows and listening to what people were looking for and what resonated with them. And that's we do.
I think the traditional short reed was what he started with, and it had a floating gut in it that you could adjust it on your own, or a locking gut.
Yeah.
But then that, just what you're saying, that it takes, it takes some.
It takes practice.
Yeah, it takes some practice.
Well, it's like anything. What doesn't take practice?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things you got to get at. It's like with turkey calls. Well, I can't do a mouth call. Well, you got to practice with it. Pod call, same way. Deer calls, same way.
Time.
It takes time.
Shooting a bow, it takes time.
It takes time. You just can't say, here, shoot this, and it's going to magically work.
Right.
So, but speaking of that,
I did real quick. I did a YouTube video on hybrid goose flute. I felt it was important enough to have a segment on it. It's really the only segment that I've had time to deal with. But we did do probably roughly a 5-minute video on how to use the hybrid and how to put it together, how to take it apart, how to clean it, how to care for it, and how to make it sound the way I just did. So give that a check out. JPO Game Calls on YouTube. It's really easy to find that.
Well, you're talking about the how to take care of it and so it'll last long. We actually had a question here about the longevity of your calls, and do they come with any type of warranty that one of our guests was asking?
Sure. So I warranty everything. short of driving over it and maliciously destroying it, I'm kind of not in tune with that. But use if something falls apart, if they need an O-ring replaced, if something falls out of tolerance, absolutely, that's what we're here for. The service side of my business is probably the most sacred of the business. Phone calls, emails, Facebook. I'm not quite as good at the Facebook as I should be, but getting questions answered on the website, I read every single thing that comes through, all the spam and the garbage and the real stuff as well. Believe me, we get a ton of garbage on there, but I do my best to make sure everybody's happy. In terms of how things are made and the support for it, if you notice here, it's a little bit of maybe an eye chart to see, but a wood call is susceptible to cracking and breakage because there's so much pressure applied on the reed that you'll part the kegs or the material when you're inserting and manipulating that reed.
Yeah, just the natural structure of wood and the grain.
Yeah. So what I've done is I put in an aluminum tenon into these products. So you get all that sound, that mellow sound of a wooden call, but you get the rigidity of an acrylic or something of that nature with having that aluminum tenon in there. So you can really jam that reed in there and not worry about parting the keg or the product whatsoever.
And that's awesome. And I brought it up. Your YouTube video is just type in JPO game calls, and it says JPO tutorial Goose hybrid Goose Flute tuning and assembly. And you can go over there, check it out. It is 4 minutes and 39 seconds to take care of that call. So it's right out there. You guys can go back and look that over after you go and get a call from Paul and Amy.
There you go.
Now, Grunt Calls.
Don't forget to use J10, right?
Right. Use our promo code, folks. Get that 10% off, and then move on over to the Grunt Calls that you have, because it is fall and hunting season has started in the state.
Yes, that it is.
So I don't know if you can see this, but about when are we starting? Pretty soon. This will go up in the house.
Right?
Is that your sign or is that his sign?
That's right. I know.
So I'll take you through the initial deer grunt that I carried from when I first started. It was this style of a deer grunt. This is a tapered lock. The barrels look very similar to Omni, but this is not an Omni barrel. And the reason that it's not an Omni barrel is because the dimensions of the deer grunt portion are larger than anything that I could do with Omni. And believe me, I tried several different ways to make this series fit my Omni call. I just couldn't do it. But this is a taper lock design call. You twist lock in, and it stays together through a Morse taper tenon type of design with a brass slider that allows you to manipulate the tone of that call just by sliding the brass slider up and down. So bow hunters, one-handed, single use, great call for that to get your mature buck, tending buck, does and fawn calls. Just with the slider, start with it low. This is the call, and then just go through the different gradations. Just with the brass slider, single use on the thumb.
It's nice because you don't have to go into the call to the ring or
Exactly. Like you said, it's a one finger, and you can just adjust it as you go with your thumb.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's a brass slider. If it does, it will over time develop a little bit of memory. So you just bend it back out, and you're good to go again. I mean, there's really very few failure modes on a call like that. As part of Omni, if we switch over to the Omni series calls, I came up with a couple of different style calls. This is the original call, a traditional reed with the grunt call with the ring to move it up and down to get the different tones out of it. So you break it apart. But this tone has a really great sound to it. Just a very dominant type of tone to it. I don't know if you can pick that up in the mics or not, but it's the deepest, darkest tone that I have in terms of a buck grunt. I can change the reeds out to do a doe bleat. But the buck grunt is really the one that I use. And I'll use the ring to slide it up and down if I want to change the tone. And as a result or a product of a show, the Gaylord, the Grand Rapids show. There's all kinds of input and advice and questions from the folks over in Grand Rapids area. Asked me about an in and out grunt, or this is my in and out deer grunt. This is a two-way reeded deer grunt that gives you the ability to use the butt grunt on the exhale, the doe bleed on the inhale, or you can flip the call around. Doesn't matter on direction. This is the direction. I'm not advertising the direction. I'm just advertising that I've got reeds in here that can blow both ways, just with this type of a call system. So again, part of Omni. You can just buy the keg separate from the barrel. Buy different deer grunts for the call series. So, but yeah, that's what we have for our deer grunts for our product line.
I tell you what, and if anybody's talking about these, again, get over to their website, JPO Game Calls. Under the big game section, they do have a deer section, and he's got all these shown here, and you can check them out as they go and as we talk about them. But that in and out call or the brass slider one, the one thumb to use that, especially in a situation where you can't move a lot, if you're out in the middle of up in a tree.
Yeah, you got a bow in one hand, you got a buck coming in, you're trying to grunt them in.
Right.
And that to me that's great. That is awesome. That you can actually run a call like that and change tones on the fly.
Question coming in, do you make the calls with a dull, non-glossy finish?
If you request it, I can make it with a dull, non-glossy finish. Absolutely.
There you go, Mark. It's one of those things.
It'll be a special request. We
take notes and things like that. It's not like a transaction comes through and I just blindly fill it. We look at notes or emails and phone calls to just make the change.
You do have one. Your newest duck call has that.
Yeah, we do. I do some matte stuff with just a different type of oil.
No, we haven't done it with the Omni.
Yep. Right. Yeah, the Omni is the Omni by default. It's a laminate product. I polish it up just because it's got such a nice look to it. But if you wanted something completely dulled out, I probably would apply like a 600 or 800 grit to it and just leave it the way it is and not really apply any type of oil to it.
Can I get that in tactical black? Right. So, but anyways, one thing.
It's an interesting point that you mentioned because all of colors may vary on the site. I bought so many different colors because I didn't know, I couldn't see what colors looked good, and so I bought a bunch of different SKUs of colors, and I'm putting them together, but it makes it just a monster to try to manage color. So we do our best to put good color combinations together, but just because you buy one, it may not look like that. If it's really Frankenstein color, I will reach out and say, hey, like, this is what I have. Are you cool with it? And most times, everybody's really good about, yeah, I don't care what it looks like, just as long as it sounds good. Well, that's, hey, we can all win that.
We had that discussion at Woods and Water about putting the disclaimer on your on the calls that says the ones that might be
colors
a little bit,
may vary.
Colors may vary. And one question coming in is, okay, so they have a call, they use it. What is your best way to clean or maintain your call or post-season storage? Like after this season, you use the call. What should you do to next season?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
they come with a bag. Right?
The micro mesh bag to keep any lint or other debris out of it. So that's why we we include that micro mesh bag in it with every product that we sell. We also sell caps, and if at the show or if online, if you're selling or you're buying multiple parts for the call, like a crow call or a squirrel or whatever, and I can put a cap around the keg, I'll put an acrylic cap on it so that you can store it and not worry about reeds getting dinged up or any contamination coming into the call that way. It is a wood laminate product. So when you get done, I would recommend just keeping it where the air can dry it out. You don't want it to sit wet in your bag for 3 months because it will mildew. I mean, that will damage that call. It's just, you just have to take care of it like you would any nice product like that. So,
well, I think you mentioned too, a lot of these you've been taking it apart to show the reeds inside, and that's something that you can take them apart and you can clean them and they will lock back together.
Yeah.
And that's one of the nice things about those.
Yeah, they're meant to be taken apart and managed and care. Some folks, they'll bring a call back. It's like, oh, it's all dulled out. Well, and for that question, the call with time will dull. But if you want to bring that polish back, Carnauba car wax, that's the finishing touch. There's a 3-buff wheel that I go through to bring out the shine after I provide the treatment. And it's that last buff, it's the Carnauba wax that really makes it mirror finish perfect. So if you have a call and look a little dull, don't be afraid to put a little car wax on it.
Or can we bring our car over to your house and you can put
the right?
No.
Put the shine on?
No, not buying that.
Wax
I
on.
wax my own
Wax
vehicles,
off.
unfortunately. I haven't done that since I was in high school.
Well, there you go,
Roll up
folks.
anything.
You know, it's one of those things. You got to have fun, or else we're all going to go crazy, right?
Absolutely.
So we've talked about the Goose Call. We talked about the Grunt Call. I think we're going to take a break here, and then we're going to come back. We're going to switch our gears and talk about his elk adventure.
There you go. All right, let's step outside. We'll take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show. We've been talking about calls, how to take care of them, how to use them. And in the commercial break, for those of you on the podcast, he wants to talk a little bit about a new call that he's got that's a little bit different than the others. Go ahead, Paul. Show us what you got.
Yeah, sure. So as with any of the call products, we have our Omni Call system, which also has different types of duck call accessory kegs that go along with it, varying on price and expense. We try to hit markets for everybody to enjoy a call, hand-turned call, a Michigan-made product. But in some cases with Omni, I still can't quite hit a price point in a particular market, primarily with kids wanting to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spend an arm and a leg, but really want a product to take out in the field. And this product right here was my answer to that for a Hen Mallard Call. This is a single piece turned duck call with the duck reeds. It's a double. I do doubles or singles. I prefer the double reeds, but they come pre-built. You can't take them apart. It comes in one product, which is nice because you're not going to lose parts out of it. And this would be a $35 price point. That's about the best I can do in terms of getting an economical call to the youth, or I kind of consider that to be a boot call. And it's just a nice backup to keep in your bag in case you have something happen to another call as well. So it's just a nice backup.
Well, and kids are always fiddling with things, and if they start taking something apart and can't get it back together, all of a sudden there they are without a call.
Yeah, exactly. So you get it. Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's a good way to get a new person, a kid involved,
Yep.
not spending a lot of money, and you got a nice sturdy call there that's going to take some pounding, and in case your other call floats away in the duck blind, you have that one in your boot, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I've never lost anything out of my call bag before.
No, okay, yeah, right. Okay, so we got a question for the marketing person.
Oh boy.
Do you? The question. Right? The question is, do you have a monthly subscription plan? So, like, I send you $50 to $100 each month, and you send me a different call each month.
We have not looked into that yet. That would be another thing to take into consideration.
Yeah, I've not done that, but I
thank Mark Coleman for that suggestion.
All right, Mark.
Yeah,
Mark, we do. I don't know what we're going to send you, but we'll send you something.
Right?
Exactly. Yes.
So there you go. So
there is, there just about is a season every month. That would really be a nice idea.
Well, you could do it. You could even going on what Mark says, instead of being monthly, you could be quarterly. That gives you four seasons: Predator, spring, summer, and fall. Or you could do it monthly. It depends on what you wanted to, how you wanted to work it. But why not have a subscription base? It'd almost be like JPO's version of whatever that thing you could
Jelly of the month.
Well, yeah, it's like Call of the Month, right? I was thinking that.
Bags or whatever you call it stuff. Yeah. Right.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, right.
And for your birthday,
Line of the month.
Right? Yeah. And for your birthday, we'll send you a bag of what's on Paul's floor of his wood shop that he didn't quite make it.
Yeah, that didn't pass muster, right?
But yeah, so I think that's an awesome idea, whether you run it monthly or quarterly. But that's pretty cool. Sounds like Mark wants to sign up.
Yeah. All right.
But so it's one of those things that we made a play to visit to your shop, so we kind of know what goes on in there, and the type of person you are with the background. Yeah, it's got to pass your test, or else it's going to get either on the floor or zinged across the shop.
Yeah, in the woods though.
Yeah.
BTUs.
Target practice.
That's the last thing it's good for is BTUs.
There you go.
You know what? He did have the stove running when we were there.
It was pretty hot that day. Yeah, it was cold outside, so there you go.
Comfortably warm.
Right. So, but so switching our little gears here to your elk hunt. You did a horseback elk hunt, actually.
I go with a true cowboy. Yeah, Chuck Van Keren he has a ministry that he started several years ago, and I go out with Chuck, and we had a great time. It was my third year. I said I wasn't going to go every year, but somehow he managed to find excuses for me to go with him every year. And as a matter of fact, he calls up my wife around Christmas time, and you can tell him what he said.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I'm thinking about getting a bow for Paul because he's a lefty, and we're going elk hunting the next fall. Would you get in the way of that?
Nice segue.
He knew he was stretching it with trying to go for a third year, so he called and said he has a Christmas present for Paul.
Right.
So
I'm a lefty, so it's kind of tough to find left-handed stuff. But he found a nice deal on a left-handed bow, so I was like, all right, we're gonna have to do this. And
that was quite the call I got.
Yeah, we left. What was that, Sunday before the opener? So it was August because the opener was on. I want to say on the 9th. It was a Thursday, it was a third. There was a Thursday. Anyway, we left Sunday before the Thursday opener. 24-hour bonsai trip out there. 3 hours of sleep at a rest stop and blasted out there. Picked up horses in the Bags, Wyoming area, and then. From there, we scoped and glassed and looked at in meadows, high altitude, 9,000 plus feet, scoping for elk all over the place. It's probably we were on the road more than we were sleeping. I think the whole 3 days, just glassing and looking for them. They've suffered. They're in their second, possibly third year of drought. So just everything is so dry. The reservoirs and the levees are just they're emptied. I'll bet you they're probably a good 10 feet empty in some cases. And all that dry, all those dry conditions actually drive the elk into the higher altitudes. Well, with being driven up into the higher altitudes, there's more and more pressure because we don't have infinity mountains running around. So it's just by nature, it's just puts a lot of pressure on the elk. And when they feel that pressure on the public property and the public lands, they squirt off into the privates real fast. So
how many of you were hunting?
It was the two of us.
Okay.
But he has a few other folks that he knows out there. He's done it for just about 30 years, I want to say. So he's always got some contacts that he calls and tries to figure out where the elk are and what's going on. And some of his spots he likes to go to, they weren't producing. We didn't even bother going to some of the spots he's comfortable with. We were really cutting new ground, new territory, looking in other places, and we spent.
Well, and they've had the fires out there too this year.
Yeah, and then and yeah, the fires added a whole new dynamic into. If you think that California fires, right? It's just in California. What actually happens is all that smoke blows through into Wyoming, into Colorado, and it's amazing how much that hangs up in those upper altitudes like that. So,
well, you told me that the people you talked to wouldn't even bother going up on the mountain because that's what was there was the smoke.
Yeah. The locals like I'm not leaving the house because it's smoky. Like, where? Like I see haze, that's like normal in Michigan. That's haze. Like no, that should not be there. That is not haze. That is smoke. And
you told me that story, and I'm like, wow, okay, right. And here's the thing, right? You're going to be hunting 3 days, so you got 3 days. Not like you can say, you know what, I don't feel it today. Now, if it was weather driven, I could understand, but
right, you take a day off, you're burning a lot of time.
You're going.
Yeah. No, we did. I mean, 600 feet and inside a quarter mile. We're going to the basin. We're going to go chase that elk we've been watching for 2 days. And we got there and there were people climbing all over that basin. So
you weren't the only people out there, were you?
We were not the only ones that heard that bugling in the evenings, and probably we're not the only ones scoping that elk.
Now the question is, was some of the bugling you did hear, was it other hunters?
So possible, but I know we saw that big bull come out, and Chuck said that was the biggest, probably one of the third biggest bulls he's ever seen, and it was substantial. It was a big bull, and it did bugle when we watched it. So were there other bugles happening? Possible. We went back down and. Towards the evening, it was dark out. Would hunters be bugling in the twilight of the dark on a mountain? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yes, they do.
They were there.
So I've kind of been studying I've been kind of catching up on some videos of people elk hunting, and one of the tricks is to bugle at night. Don't ask me why. I'm not an expert. I've never been. Yeah. But
I've gone 3 times, so I'm no expert myself.
It's like, so they were bugling at night. Find the spot where they heard them. Okay, go to sleep. Get up early the next morning.
Go to said spot.
Go to said spot and try to get there and see how far they moved or they didn't move. Now there was a couple times that they could tell when it was another hunter, which was pretty funny. But it was kind of like when you're out hunting, deer hunting, and you see a guy or you hear rattling, and then it's just like crazy rattling, and you're like, yeah, okay, not really a true statement there of a rattling. But one of the questions, like a trip like this, how do you stay motivated on such an exhausting hunt?
Because he knows if he comes home early. No,
if I can get the job done, I can go home early. Right. Yeah. It's a lot of mental determination. I'm not gonna lie. It's if you think that it's easy getting on a horse and riding for 10 hours, I can tell you that you can't find the ground fast enough getting off.
Now you wouldn't be able to tell our girls that.
No, but for a 45-year-old man, that's not the best.
Our girls would live on a horse, I think.
Right. But
hiking in 80 pounds doesn't sound appealing either. But I mean, it's just physically exerting. So when you talk about people preparing for the hunt and being physically fit and running, and I was running a couple of miles if I could squeeze it in every day for the past 2 months, or at least getting my 2-mile walk in if my gout or my joints were having a problem. But if you're gonna go on a hunt like that, don't wait the week before and try to go to the gym, or don't wait and do nothing and just go and expect you're gonna have a great time.
Is that what happened last?
No, it was brutal. I am not lying. It is brutal, and the older you get, the harder it absolutely is. So my recommendation is figure out if you're gonna hunt or not, and when you do, as soon as you find out, you put yourself a regiment together and you get yourself at minimum 2-mile walk, 30 minutes every day, to prepare for it, because it's not it's the cardio part. It's the up and the down and the mountains. It doesn't
elevation.
Yeah, if you read the GPS and it says, it's a quarter mile away. Okay, great, but do quarter mile and 600 feet up and get back to me and let me know how you feel.
And carrying a pack on you.
And as Amy said, the elevation that you're at with the oxygen level.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
9,000 feet is nothing to shake a stick at. I can tell you that.
Oxygen deprivation. Well, you said you're out on horses and you're glassing and riding around a lot. Elk are you got a real keen nose. How do you cope with the smell of the horses while you're doing the hunt?
So the guy that I go with says that the elk don't care. Elk don't know how many legs a horse has, and they don't really care if there's somebody riding it. So actually, you kind of can sneak up on elk with the horse because the horse looks at that animal as being another elk. They're not as sensitive to it as you would be walking on two legs and a pack and a gun. They're much more in tune with that. But something about just the natural sway of a horse walking around, they think it's a wild Mustang for all intensive purposes. It's actually kind of considered to be a little bit of camouflage. They're a little indifferent to it. So
interesting.
Yeah. So technically, Paul was getting his sway on in Colorado.
Getting his horse sway on.
Definitely had my swagger going. Yeah.
Okay, so you were gone you said you hunted for 3 days. Typically, when you go in, you got to pack food, you got to pack water in. Water not only for you but the horses. Was there a stream nearby? Did you plan for that where you guys were going, or did you pack water in for the horses?
So most times you didn't have to worry about finding water for the horses. It's in the area, generally speaking, and if it's not, there's he would have markings of where water is. So it's very important to know where your water sources are, whether you're hiking it in. We'll do like 2.5 gallons on each side of a panniard, so you're about 5 gallons on each horse. That's really for yourself, and then horses. They only technically need to be watered once or twice a day. We'd take them out in the evenings and we'd water them, and they'll suck water out of a hoof print and not have a problem with it. I mean, they don't need a big trough. They find it, and when they find it, they'll let you know. And you can wrestle with the horse. Say, no, we're gonna go up upstream there. No, that horse I'm going down there.
I'm going where the water's at. You can do what you want. You can stay up here. I don't care.
You can do what you want, but I'm going down there. And my buddy says, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think the horse is thirsty." He's like, "Well, no, just have him go up there." I'm like, "No, I want to see where this goes." And we went zigzagging like down ridge lines and stuff. I'm like, "Whoa!" I mean, he doesn't just hold on, shut up and hold on. That's what I know about horses and horseback riding.
There you
Horse
go.
looks at you like, we're going for a ride.
Yep.
You're going for a ride. I'm going walking.
You like it or not, I'm going there.
I'm the one carrying you, so if you don't want to carry me, you're gonna follow.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about horses too, that I didn't know, and this comes from having someone that's very experienced with horses, that they will go wherever if you think you can go there, or if you can get there, a horse will get there. It doesn't matter. They will go there. They may not be happy about it, but they will go there. And we went places I never dreamed of. On a horse, logs that are waist high. No, I'll just walk over that. Hang on, I might buck over. I might jump over it on you. I've tweaked the back or two on things like that. But through the brush, through the thistles, they don't care. They run through it. If they think that there's a trail there, they'll use it. They have no problem with that. So,
man, that's got to be something.
It's
crazy.
I know, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're bumping up
here. You got to
here.
be comfortable that someone else is in control of where you're going and not your 2 feet. That's what you got to get past.
Well, and trust the animal too. I mean, there's a huge trust factor there. Of course, you probably don't have much choice.
Horses just falling over all the place. They're pretty sure-footed, so just take it to heart that they don't want to fall any more than you do.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to step out and take our last break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation about the hunt. So we'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Last segment of the show, folks. Learned a lot about horses I did not know about. You know,
it sounds like Paul had no choice but to learn about it.
Yeah, it sounds like Paul did a lot of learning too.
The views and opinions of Paul doesn't necessarily reflect the views and opinions of...
Right, exactly. And speaking of that, one of the questions that are coming in is, what is the worst thing so far you've experienced while elk hunting? A danger, a health issue, weather, or an other unkind hunter?
Or unkind horse.
Right.
Yeah. So, the biggest thing that you don't want to mess around with is the weather on the mountain. It is brutal. I mean, when they say, the night before the opener, it was monsoon conditions, and I told my hunting partner, I am not into, if we were already established and set up and ready to weather it, then I'm okay with it. But since we're not set up, I don't want to go live through it, because we did that 3 years or two and a half years ago. We were established 60 degrees of what, 60, 70 degrees, suntan lotion on my nose. I'm burning to a crisp, kind of fair complected. And the next day we had 12 inches of snow on the ground with howling winds, and we didn't leave the tent.
They were taking out other camps.
Yeah, we were on horseback.
That were getting in trouble without horses.
Yep. And
really?
We were hiking tents and camping gear down the mountain for folks. Yeah.
So kind of on that question, the other hunters you run into, typically in nature, are they? You guys are obviously, it's public land, so you can all be there, and you're all hearing the same animals. So what's the general consensus of them?
So I've been told, because it's public land, that if you see an elk, you better shoot it. There's no, I don't want to say there's no honor among thieves, but this is, I'm on this side of the mountain, so that's, anything here is my elk or my mule deer. That's that guy's side of the mountain over there, so we don't shoot at his stuff, and he doesn't. No, you go, if you see it, you better start putting the lead down, because that's the rules. And for the most part, I haven't seen real problems with that. But I have not been doing it for 30 years either. So, I mean, most people that I've run into on the mountain are very knowledgeable and very willing to help. We had some problems with the stirrups on the horses this year. Some of the gear, because it's rented gear, the leather kind of rotted out, and there were people just Johnny on the spot. What do you need? I got duct tape, I got Gorilla Glue, I got wire ties. Let's fix up your horse. Just very, very helpful. That's what I find on the mountains. Most people are more helpful than not, because when you run into problems on the mountain, you better be nice, because someone's probably going to help you out. You always want to be cordial and be nice and help one another.
Well, like you said, you were burning one day, crispy. Next day you got snow, and because you had horses, you were helping other people. So, this is the time to tell me you don't like my horse, because I'm saving your butt.
Yep.
That's one of the things that, I know everywhere you go, it's public land. I get it. But sometimes people, it's like, well, this is my spot. Well, guess what? It's our spot if you really want to talk about it. And then they get all grumpy, and it's just one of those things. But out there, it's especially in the mountains, like you said, you went from 70 to 12 inches of snow in 24 hours. So I get it.
Yeah. You can change the attitudes real quick.
Yep. And being that it's in the mountains, I mean, turn the corner and you don't see anything. I mean, that you can't cover like a field here. You can see a square mile. There you can see about
miles and miles.
Yeah, well, it depends on where you're at. You can see from mountaintop to mountaintop. You can't own mountaintop to mountaintop. You just can't.
Well, some of those pictures that you sent us that we showed on the show. Basically, you're looking out at the mountain range. It's like, okay,
yeah,
but but that's the joys of it. So, you gonna go next year?
Let's see if the
wait for
the lets me
wait for the Christmas call.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of getting Paul a new gun.
Yeah.
Right. You said you're a left-hander, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be fine.
Well, on a hunt,
mag, it's great.
On a hunt like that, if somebody that might want to go out and do something like that, as far as planning ahead, I mean, obviously you've got a connection out there, a guy with horses. But how soon ahead would somebody need to start planning if they're going to take a horseback style hunt?
I probably would start planning at least 9 months ahead, 6 months.
More than that, I would.
6 months is getting tight because what happens is when you get closer and closer to gun, everybody's calling the ranches to get to rent the horses and reserve their horses. So if you wait too long, you won't get a horse. So you'll have to hoof it in and out yourself.
So was that an over-the-counter tag then?
Where we were at was over the counter. There are areas in Colorado that is by draw or by permit.
Okay.
But we went over the counter. We were in the flat tops of kind of the northern areas of Colorado.
Any encounters with deadly predators such as bears, wolves, snakes, coyotes?
Well, you had a snake dinner.
No, that was
was
prairie
that
dogging.
Oh, that was the other. That was another hunt.
That's Oklahoma.
Sorry.
Yeah, they all kind of blend together. My life. There were bear in the area where we were last year. We saw a little bit of sign of bear, but for the most part, we didn't have any problems with them. You can hear coyotes and whatever in the distance, but being with horses, horses are big animals, and most predators don't want to mess with horses and those hooves. You're actually. Well, I slept better with the horses because, first of all, they'll alert you if there's something bad in the area, and if it comes after you, you don't want to be anywhere near the horse because that thing's going to buck and kick, and it's just they're wild animals. There's no doubt. So I feel more comfortable with having horses around, if anything.
So actually, that's kind of a good thing to have the horses around in camp because talking about an alarm, right? You
get a warning system.
Yeah, you get a bear or whatever, a wolf pack to come. What they think is going to be close, but I would agree. As soon as they look up at a horse, they're probably like, "Well, that's not the odds I want."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I don't know what it's like to not go without horses. That's just what we do. So maybe folks that are on foot traffic maybe have some different experience, but on horses, I've never had a problem with.
That's awesome, and that's one of the other things too, right? Right, like you're on horses, and the other people that backpack it in, you're stealthy as it is, the bear's gonna look at you and go, dinner. So anyways, but yeah, so unfortunately you didn't get anything. You made it back in time for Woods and Water, which is good. And you had a good show, and I think you're gonna be at what we kind of talked about is they're planning to have the Grand Rapids show next January, last weekend in January, and I think you're planning on being there.
Yeah, I will be. I got to change some booths around and kind of make this a little bit more manageable. But yeah, I'll be there for the Hunting Time Expo at the Deltaplex the end of January. I will be there this year.
So Mark Coleman, if you want to come up from Indiana to a show,
it's a good show.
It's a good show to visit. Come visit us up in Michigan.
Okay, well he's down in Indiana, central Indiana. I took you down a couple years ago down to the Indiana Deer Expo.
Yep.
Compared to that show, how would you compare Grand Rapids?
Ooh, the Indiana show is way bigger. Well, obviously, because they had more boats. They had.
I'm talking about just the hunting side of it. Take the fishing and the campers away.
Take that out
and the boats.
Pretty close to the same.
About the same.
Yeah, if you take all that out. Yeah, but Eric Dabb says it's not the bears, wolves, or snakes. It's the spiders.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, so when we went in the wintertime, I mean, we don't have as much of an issue with that, obviously. In the summertime, it's still cold at night there. I mean, there's very little humidity, and at night we're kind of ducking into the 40s, at least where we were at. Not saying that there aren't spiders and creepy crawly things, that's for sure. That's just a mental thing to overcome, I guess. I
know. We're wanting to crawl and stay warm too.
Yeah. When I put my boots on, don't think that I'm not tapping the boots and seeing what crawled in there from the night before, because I absolutely am paranoid of that stuff.
Oh, that's funny. But you got to be. Well, you just got to be cognizant of it because you're in their area. You're in their. Yeah, sure. They're just like, hey, it's getting cold out, and you're a warm body.
I'm going to slide in this boot over here.
Right?
And I'll tell you, I am, and I think you just have to be. You have to be super anal about your tent and the cleanliness of your tent. You don't want a pile of clothes, laying down on the ground. You don't want it. You're either putting it back in plastic bags, keeping it up off or hanging it outside, but you don't want extra stuff laying around in that tent, right? You want your sleeping bag, and when you're out of it in the morning, you stuff it back in the stuff sack, you put your pillow back in the stuff sack, you keep it all tight, right? Because the more you let that stuff lay around, the more chances, the more opportunities those creepy crawlies can find a place and make it their home, when you don't want that, and you'll find it. Oh, they'll let you know at about, 2-3 o'clock in the morning in the very, very dark, right? I mean, there's no city lights out there. So yeah, you can wake up to, oh yeah, screaming. Yeah, of course.
So
little girl.
Let it be known, because Paul is very neat, tidy and neat. Amy has never once had to yell at him for piles of laundry.
I was going to say, is he that way at home?
No.
Yeah. Well, you guys have seen that.
Yeah. Have you seen my shop?
Have you seen the shop?
Yeah.
Okay, so
certain things
right. So we've talked about the creepy crawlies and everything, but Mark Coleman wants to know, what do you eat on a hunt like that? Do you have a campfire breakfast, eggs, bacon, biscuits, coffee?
I was just getting ready to ask that question.
Yeah. Okay. So
Best
what
thing.
you get is what's on your pack and what's in the panniers of your horse. Backpacker's pantry. I like the lasagna with meatballs. That's about the best one.
Can you pick your own?
Yeah, I made some mashed potatoes. I like my mashed potatoes with butter and bacon bits. I kind of do my own instant stuff, just to change it up a little bit. But for convenience, you're so tired after the hunt. The last thing you want to do is put anything elaborate together. And it doesn't sound like a vacation. Like when I first went, I'm thinking, well, we're going to do crock pots and we're going to do Dutch ovens. We're going to have all kinds of stuff. And it's like, no, you only have some room on a horse, and you don't want to hike all that crap in and out. So you got to consolidate, keep everything real tight in terms of your packing and what your meals are going to look like. So you're packing lightweight, you're packing compressible type items, and fortunately or not, those dried goods, put warm water in them, let them sit, are one of the best options out there. That, and during the day is some type of Cliff Bar or Nutri-Grain or trail mix type products that you can just eat quick on the run. No fuss, no muss, little mess. That's what you're gonna eat out there. Now, if you go with a big outfitter, big tents where they're hiking stuff in and out, well, I'm sure it's a totally different game.
You've got Sherpas with you.
Yeah, but if you're doing it on the cheap and trying to do it yourself, you're not going to mess around with luxury type of items. The one thing that I didn't know this time, it depends on where you go. I guess that's the other important part, is know before you go. Talk to the rangers, talk to the stations in the area. Every town in there has some type of U.S. What do you call it, that their internal, basically their
extension.
Extension posts, their forestry or their DNR of some type. Find out where you're going, if there's fish in the local levees or reservoirs or streams, because if there are, you get a free fishing license with your bow license. So take a pole, take some spinners and some meat or some crawlers or something like that, and go find yourself a cutthroat or a grayling or something to kind of offset eating trail mix and backpackers pantry stuff all day for a week.
There you go.
That'd be my recommendation. Right?
Well, that's a little unknown tip. Kind of, take a small little spinning rod if you can break it down, and then with a couple little spinners, go catch some fresh fish.
Yeah. Supplements. So, are you cooking most of your stuff then, like in a jet boil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Chuck was using the jet boil. I've got an MSR white gas stove, so it's nice to have a couple different options. White gas is a little bit more messy to deal with because you got to light it and let it combust or let it vaporize before it becomes a burning unit. The vapor boils, which are all basically propane in a can, is it propane or liquid LP? Liquid propane in a can are great, but they're bulky, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can put I think, was it like a 12-ounce or 8-ounce bottle, just a little guy. I can store it practically anywhere. I could probably get at least 4 to 5 meals out of it. So it's size. It's whatever you can do to make things as small as possible. I prefer the white gas. It outweighs, or it's a little bit more power in terms of its density, I feel, and it's not as bulky, which is what I really try to keep away from.
Size and weight, two big issues. It's something you have to deal with out there. Well, I'll tell you what, we're running up here on our hour. It's some great information, and then it's great seeing you guys out there at Woods and Water once again as well. So there's some sense of normalcy coming back now. We're getting into hunting season and being able to see these shows. So, Dan, go ahead and bring up their website once again so everybody can check out and see where they need to go to check out the calls.
All they need to do is go over to jpogamecalls.com. You can go in their shop area and you can shop for predator, deer, elk, all the different game calls that they have. They got their feature calls. Just go check it out, everything they got over there. And if you got any questions, either Facebook or email, just go to hold Paul and Amy, and he'll get back to you, and he'll get back with you to answer your question. And if you're gonna buy any call, start with the squirrel call.
That's right. There you go. I tell you what, that was a big seller for you guys over at the shows, from what I heard.
It's a popular call. We carry two different style of squirrel calls. We have a small pocket call. I don't have one in front of me right now. It's just a nice small little call that you put in your pocket or put on your lanyard or around your neck. Doesn't take much to take it with you, all the time. And then we also put, as part of Omni, we have this larger Magnum call. So Omni's, I can put the bellow system together. I can put a larger bellow system in so that you can get the chatters and the barks a little bit louder. Due to the design and the nature of this call, it's a real popular item. So those have been nice for this time of the year.
That's awesome. And like I said, get over to jpogamecalls.com. Use our promo code, get 10% off. And then one last question: do you stay in communication with your family on a daily basis while on the hunts, or does that impact your focus? Amy, do you want to answer that?
I think I sent a text to you one day. Are you still out there?
Do you plan on coming back anytime soon?
Yeah.
Well, you sent me the very first picture.
Yeah.
I saw it come through, and the caption was, "Don't shoot this one. You wanted this one home alive." And then I went to I had to look at the picture. And go, what is she? And I'm like, oh, he's on a horseback.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That was him.
It's surprising. They're depending on carrier.
He does get out where there's no coverage.
Yeah,
so
it depends. It depends on how far away you are, and actually, the higher you get, you actually get a little better coverage. So
absolutely, because it's directional, right? And we were talking a couple times through text, so I knew you were probably in a high spot. And the one text was, "No, haven't gotten anything." It's like, keep trying.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I think that's it.
All right. That'll do it for us this week, folks. Thanks once again. When we get done here, just hang with us and we'll talk to you after the show. But for everybody that's listening and watching, make sure you hit all their social media. Give them a like, follow, share, just like you do for us. If you're listening to the podcast on iTunes, give us a review. That helps the people who support us, like JPO Game Calls. So next week, Dan, we're
going to talk with Randy Stoppenhagen, C3 Mitts.
There you go.
Otherwise known as Better the Hunt. We'll talk about all that next week. And we'll also talk to him because was up on the mountain as well. So next week we're going to talk to him about C3 Mitts, his elk hunt, and all on his wife's birthday.
Are you sure he's going to be able to talk to us?
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll find out.
I made sure today.
Okay. All right. So that'll do it for us this week, folks. Y'all take care, and we'll be back again next week. Same time, 7:30 Thursday night. Take care.
This episode was brought to you by
PSE Archery, Yamaha Outboards, Better the Hunt, Easy Cut, Packer Max, Deer Camp Coffee, Buck Baits, JPO Game Calls, Limwalker Game Calls, Wild Seasoning, Total Peep, Sunrise Archery, Scent Lock, and Scent Blocker.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.